So I was saying yesterday about I was telling you about the incidents in Vietnam when for a complaint regarding hot water, whatever. The hotel decided to give me the wisdom of the local KGB. The colonel came to tell me that I have to. Dă-te jos că ajunge, gata! He's already placing holes in the net, and this guy has been away a few times. And what happens is he lands on a tree and then starts screaming like hell and wouldn't get down. So it's quite an annoyance and potentially dangerous. He might die. So that's the idea. So I was saying about the incidents in Piatranams. In another episode, I mentioned what happened in Sinai when the police came. They thought I have hard currency on me, and they would arrest and send me to jail and put away the key. Well, not really, but I don't know what the term, sentence term, 5 years in jail for hard currency, depending on how much you had, I guess. Surely, if you had $5, it would be one thing. If you had 100,000, they would make an example out of you, and they can put you 20 years behind bars. Probably, maybe even shoot you. Why not? That was the communist regime. And then, voi termina. It's true, I allowed him for some time, but then I see that he put a hole there somewhere. Anyway, something else happened since I'm following this storyline, if there is any. In Pona Brashov, it would be towards the end of the regime. Anyway, I haven't been working for like 20 years in the dictatorship. No, it's only up for about 5, I would say. So it might have been 1988 in the winter. One advantage I had since I interrupted my university was that I was available anytime. Those with connections were given good plum jobs. Americans, not many came, but those few who came on tour and buses and with lucrative potential. I mean, you would get money, you would get some tips, you would get from these tours. Those were for those select few, more equal among the animals of the animal farm. And since I didn't have this card to play, connections, so I would have to use my advantages. And one of them was that anytime they would call, I would say, okay, I'm free. The others would be in school. They had very few. I think they had a few professional guides working full time, but that was just a handful. You didn't have something to give them all the time. You needed people on a seasonal basis, in summer, in winter for the winter holidays. But you would have a need for tour guides also outside the windows, outside the time when the students would be available. Those big shots with connections would come for the Christmas, winter, New Year's Eve holidays mainly, and then there would be another student holiday in February sometime. I said, okay. So they gave me this this job, let's say, and they sent me, let's say, around the 1st of December. Okay, because before the others would be free, I had time. I interrupted school, as I said. So they sent me to Brashov. They had another woman working with me, older, 20 years older. I forget the name, maybe Mariana, let's say. We got along quite well. She did play the superior woman once in a while. I mean, being older and having more experience, we didn't have ranks like tour guide in chief, vice admiral. Okay, but still she had command somehow, so to say. For this, we were at the telepheric for for these groups. We had maybe like 100 clients at one time. They would come for periods of 6 days, 7 days, a week of skiing. And what she had to do was sit around and drink, in the restaurant and smoke. And what I had to do was go every day. That was on average an accident per day. You had maybe every 10 days a day without an accident, but then in the previous 10 days you had one day with 2 accidents. You see what I mean? So on average, every day I would go downtown from Brashov. That's about 8 kilometers, or is it 12? With an ambulance, with some man or woman or child who fell on the skis on the slopes, and we couldn't know how serious it was until we had an X-ray. So we went to the X-ray machine in the hospital in Brashov. That wasn't really fun, of course. It was a drag, but what can I do? It was also the question: I was the man, she was the woman. And feminists would object, but then I don't have women watching. I think this I don't have anybody watching. That's between me and you. Shh, it's a secret. Don't let anybody know. Gentlemanly it used to be. I don't know what the take would be today to the less pleasant thing as a man, and allow the woman to just sit and wait and drink and smoke in the restaurant at the telepheric. There was a thing at one point. Well, 2 things come to mind, except the exceptional at the end. One was when a very ugly, bizarre, strange, troubled, repulsive woman came. And as it happened, they gave me a room where the heating was, the radiators were broken. So this being winter, they couldn't give it to a paying customer because it was very, very cold, as you can imagine. Furthermore, it was an apartment, so I shared the apartment with this crazy woman at one point. I remember. And at no time, with availability, with different circumstances, with summer, winter, with peaks, ups and downs, with age, I don't know. I found various peculiar women interesting, even if they were fatter. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say American fat. I mean, like obese, like giant 200 kilos monsters. Monster is not nice. Humans, let's say. But with many kilos, they would be fine, and various looks, weirdos, and that would be fine. And I pressed on, but this was so out of out of the ballpark. I know. Out of the normal range. I don't know, out of the even the abnormal range. That it wasn't unthinkable. It was unthinkable to have any intimacy with her. On the contrary, but she would come at the restaurant. I remember one of the guides. There was quite a few at various times. In fact, when she came along, it was during the peak of the season. I mean, in the period Christmas, New Year's Eve, because for most of the time I was just with this Mariana, this older woman, smoking and drinking, and few of us around. But when it got really busy, they needed more. They had more clients and they had more people working for them, guides and others. And she would say from the restaurant and shout to me, "Okay, Realini, I'm going to our room. You'll be coming along too." I was embarrassed. Oh, so you mean you? The others would be ironical and joke and mock me, of course, on that. I mean, oh, it's so, and I had to explain. Yeah, look, I mean, it's that cold apartment. I mean, and they sent her also there. That's where I stay, because okay, it's frozen. And since it's an apartment, they also send her. They don't have rooms. Okay, so that an apartment has two, and so she's there. Yeah, right. But nothing. I mean, we're not. That's what you say, but anyway, since it's cold, she will keep you warm. Okay, so that was the idea. And then another thing, among many, but that's what I remember. I mean, I don't remember everything. Okay, or I can make up some stories, but not so much. I mean, I'm not. If I'd be so creative, I would have more of a public to tell it to. So at one point, I would go to the disco. I didn't have much success during that period, as I can remember, except for once, when this British girl was very keen on sex. So we tried the sauna. We had a sauna. And we tried the sauna off. I mean, not when it was in operation and during the day, but it was close to midnight, I think. So it was closed to be open tomorrow only. But it didn't work out. So then I went to the apartment where my mother and sister were invited to spend one night for the weekend. I don't know when they could be off or some. So that was awkward. But there was no other way. I mean, outside in the forest, we would freeze to death, and I'm sure she had also her own problems in the room, sharing with someone, relatives, parents, maybe, I don't know, some friend with she couldn't send out for some time. So that was one strange situation. I don't, or maybe the sauna was still closed. I mean, I tried, but I didn't find the key, or because the sauna would have been much better. Not perfect, but anyway. So that was one thing. But I didn't. It's too late in the game for this day, and I will have to leave it for tomorrow for the big thing happening at the end of this Puhana Brașov stay. So that's for tomorrow.